Good day, everyone. I am Sir Robbie, and together, we will learn the word of the future, robotics. Did you know that here in Educational Technology Unit, robotics is a priority to make every Filipino learners and teachers competent and meet the demands of the future global scene? Wherein teachers, students, and parents who wanted to learn robotics is just a click away for free. Robotics is an interdisciplinary field which integrates computer science and engineering. It involves design, construction, operation, and use of robots to assist human activities. Are you ready for this transformation? Soon in ICT's Educational Technology Unit. Come and join us and love the future para sa bata, para sa bayan, at para sa guro. Sulong edukalidad.
Magandang araw, Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng ICT's Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, this is your tutor for this afternoon. Tutor Tiny. Okay, so welcome back to our Tuesdays together with Tutor Tiny on ETUlay online tutorial brought to us by the Department of Education. And of course, it's partnership with the Edtech Unit. We are live at DepEd Facebook, DepEd Edtech Unit, DepEd Philippines, DepEd Tayo. Then we can also be viewed at YouTube, DepEd Edtech Unit, DepEd TV. All right, so welcome and thank you for your time this afternoon. I'd like to greet Ritz Melvin Hasnick. Good afternoon. I also would like to say hi and good afternoon to Ashos Nash Bandril. Good afternoon to all of us. And may you enjoy may you enjoy at the same time learn this afternoon's tutorial on the 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. Okay, so we will be doing appreciation and understanding of European literature. That's going to be on week 6, our second to the last week together in this subject. So I hope you guys are ready. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so let me share to you the content standard for this afternoon's session. That's going to be learners to be able to understand and appreciate literary text and various genres across national literature and culture. This is our content standard for the entire quarter of the literature. Then, for the competency, we are going to tackle on the critical interpretations of a literary text. Applying a reading approach requires learner the ability to identify literary texts and authors from Asia, North America, Europe, Latin America, and Africa. And most particularly this afternoon, we will be doing European literature. So this is our objective for the session. at the end of this lesson, the learners will be able to identify representative text authors from Europe, and that is just a typo error. It's going to be European literature this afternoon. Then, this is what we're going to do. We are going to identify representative text authors from Europe. We are also going to understand literary text, and of course, be able to know the modern European literature, including its genre, um, and literary styles. So, lastly, we are going to appreciate a European literature. Thus, we will be reading a literature or a text coming from the region. I hope you are excited. So, before I proceed to our preliminary activities, I'd like to say good afternoon to Emily Pableo, um, of our Facebook viewers, saying good afternoon. Emmeline Pableo from Tupi Central School, South Cotabato of Region 12. Good afternoon, Evelyn Pableo. Okay, so we will be exploring your group this time. This is the final continent of our world literature. Um, we will know how literature of European literature influenced the world, and at the same time, European literature was also influenced by some parts of the earlier literature coming from the different parts of the world. Okay, so um, let's continue. Okay, for us to be able to have an idea which countries do European literature come from, let us have a little bit of a geography. So this is a map of Europe that consists of several countries such as Russia, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, Italy, France, Spain. Most actually of our literary texts coming from the Europe, coming from Spain, France, Germany. There are also other several vernacular literature that surfaced in European literature coming from the different countries of the region. So, part of European literature actually is Australia. Then we have New Zealand. Okay. So, we will have our first activity, everyone. I hope we are all excited. So, to begin, let me greet first. Again, Ashos Nash Bandril. Good PM, and he is actually watching from Rafael Palma Elementary School. Good afternoon. Although I'm not really certain as to how to pronounce your name. Okay, Sir or Mr. Bandril. So our first activity would be for us to identify who this is. So feel free to type the name of your answer and then type number one and the name of your answer. Okay, so um, the first segment here would be the gods and goddesses from Greek mythology. So we'll have a little bit of a recall. Okay, so first item here is that she is the goddess of reason, wisdom, and war, and she played a major role in the epic Odyssey. Her Roman counterpart is Minerva. Do you have any idea? Just type number one and your answer. Okay, so we have an answer here from Sheena Marie E. Rubia. And that is, okay, correct. She is Athena. Okay, so thank you, Ashos Bandril. That's right. One is on Athena. We'll have another Greek mythology god. Okay, this time, okay, he is the Greek sea god, god of horses. He's also known as god of earthquake, and his Roman counterpart was Neptune. Okay, so for number one, we have Sheena, Actress, and Ritz Melvin. They answered Athena. So how about this time? Type in number two and give us the name of the god. So he is the Greek god of the sea, of the horses, and he's also known as the god of earthquake. And his Roman counterpart is Neptune. So type down your answer. Okay. Right. So we have a correct answer coming from Sheena Marie Rubia. It's Poseidon. All right. Okay. So we really have a good grasp with our literature in junior years. Congratulations, everybody. Okay. So to continue, we have classical European mythology. This is actually an influence of Europe in the classical age. Okay. So in the classical age, um, there are actually these are the characteristics of European literature. So first, on the matter of genre, just like how the rest of the literature in the world started with their genre that would consist of myth, folklores, poems, epics, fairy tales. In fact, the most popular and undying epics mythology Greek comes from Europe. Fairy tales as well, the beginning of our Disney characters or princesses. Okay, then subjects for classical literature of Europe. We also have origin of nature, origin of the beginning of the world, the lives of the deities, the lives of the heroes, of course, mythical creatures. It's also part of the classical European subjects. Then their culture, ritual practices as well. Okay. Another classical characteristic or distinction of European classical mythology, we also have gods and goddesses coming from the two popular country, if you could say, of Europe. That's coming from Greek or and Roman, and these are some of the gods and goddesses their um, from the two countries. We have Zeus, Aphrodite, Ares, Hera. Roman, we have Bacchus, Cupid, Jupiter, and you can name more of them. Then, just like how the rest of the world started our literature, um, literature comes from, or the origin or tradition is on oral or poetic. Okay, we all started in verse. We all started in oral literature, and in fact, on our early in the influence of European and early civilization of Asian literature uses pictograph or picture images to present an idea. Okay, so that's quite a lot of information already. So let's jump on. Let's hop on to another literary characteristic of your group. Now, this time, we are going to recall authors, writers, poets coming from the region. Now, here is our hint. He is one of Europe's greatest poet in 18th to 19th century BCE, and he wrote or collected the epic of poems, Iliad and Odyssey. Okay, so type in number three and your answer to the description. Who wrote the epic poem Iliad and Odyssey? So I just wanted to give a little bit of a trivia here because although he is known to be the original author of the Iliad and Odyssey, moreover, there are several um, that would contest that he only gathered or collected or created a compilation of these epic poems. Okay, right. So we have Homer and answered by Sheena Marie and Ritz Melvin. Congratulations, those are really correct. Okay, the answer is Homer. I hope I can be heard right now because um, it's a huge rain. It's raining cats and dog in my area. Okay, so here is one of Europe's writer, philosopher, and political thinker in 1265 to 1321 CE, and he wrote the Divine Comedy. His interpretation of Inferno, the nine circles of hell. Okay, so who is he? Once again, he wrote the nine circles of hell. If you know the answer, you can write Number four, and your answer. Okay, so we have here Akis Nash Bandril. He wrote here the several notable literary canon of Europe, coming from the classical literature. Okay, thank you so much for the information, Ash. Okay, let's have number four. Who wrote the Divine Comedy? Okay. Who wrote the Divine Comedy? All right, it's time for me to reveal the answer. Okay, it's Dante Alighieri. This is quite difficult, right? But it's okay. So our fifth question would be a playwright, a poet, and actor coming from London's greatest dramatists. So perhaps you know and have read the tragedy of Macbeth. He also wrote Romeo and Juliet. He wrote The Winter's Tale, and he is also a playwright. So who is he? Please comment down below your answer. Congratulations, yes, Sheena Marie E. Rubia. The answer is William Shakespeare. Okay, he's an hour avant-garde from your group. So more about this literary canon, we have Sophocles. He wrote Oedipus King, and he's a master of tragedy. We also have Aristophanes. He's a master of comedy. Then he wrote Lysistrata. We also have here Horace. He's popular on his satirical poetry. When we say satirical, that is something that has a poetry that provides criticism to the government system, to the political system, and to an organization. So that is what Horace is an expert of, or types of poems. We also have Joffrey Chaucer. He he is actually using vernacular literature or vernacular language in his poetry. Then, to give you an idea, he actually collected and wrote the Canterbury Tales. Another notable person coming from your group, we have Miguel De Cervantes. He is a novelist, a poet, a short story writer, and he wrote the popular novel Don Quixote. And Don Quixote is our first, or is Europeans' first greatest novel to have been published. Okay, so coming from a source, we have here Cohen Walter in 2017 on his essay on history of European literature. Ancient literature, according to him, is divided into these literary periods. We have ancient European literature, those that consist of classical Latin and mythology and epics, likewise with fairy tales. Then we also have medieval European literature. That is what is known as the Dark Ages, because this is the fall of the Roman Empire, and it opens also avenue for vernacular literature. When we say vernacular literature, those literature that is not written in the classical Latin language, but literature written in a language from the different countries or countries of Europe. So that is what we call vernacular literature. I'd like to say good afternoon to Jillian Surilia. She's watching from New Canaan Integrated School, Alabel 1 District Division of Sarangani. Good afternoon. So we are actually on the part of the literary periods of Europe. Third to the literary period, we have the Renaissance period. This is the period of rebirth or the revival of the European literature. That would also reflect on the revival of the continents. So it is also marked according to the literary movements as the beginning of modern literature in Europe. That's going to be 1400s. To continue, we are now in the 14th to 18th century European literature. They call it as the age of reason and passion. This is actually also starting to the European literature is also is influenced by the three giants of Asian literature, which are India, Japan, and China. So these three countries, three Asian countries, um, influence each other in terms of literary genre and literary tradition even in the classical period, and it just rekindled or um, their reintegration with the types of literary traditions and literary strategies um, reopened or reconnected in the 14th to 18th century. So once again, these two countries, these two regions influence each other. It could be that European literature influenced Asia, and the rest of the world. Moreover, in the classical time, um, Japan, China, and India has also influenced Europe in the making of their classical literature. Moreover, European literature became more popular because it is widely read. Several countries, races were reached by European because of conquest, because of travel and diaspora. Moreover, their language is also widely accepted or widely read. That's why in the modern times, readership is very crucial, and at the same time, the language that the author is using is also critical for a literary piece to be read worldwide. And I believe you know that English and American English is a very dominant language. So let us continue going to 19th century European literature. This is known as the age of Romanticism, symbolism, and realism. So, as an example, a representative text coming from this century, it's one of the best of Dostoevsky. It's entitled Crime and Punishment. Then, in the 20th century, this is actually the age of deep questioning. Once again, 20th century European literature is the age of deep questioning. To quote on Cohen, she said, a deep questioning of all philosophical stability of individual personality, and a deep questioning of all philosophical or religious solutions to human problems. That's why if you have read Paulo Coelho, he has several collections of philosophical novels. One of the most popular is entitled The Alchemist. Another notable literary canon of Europe in the 20th century, we have Milan Kundera. He actually wrote An Unbearable Lightness of Being. This touches on realism of about two women and two men with a dog. So more about Paulo and Kundera. There are several other literary authors that are really popular nowadays, okay, in the 21st century. To mention, let me give you more. First, we have Nobel Prize winner Peter Hank in 2019. He is a novelist, a playwright at the same time, a translator, a poet, a film director, and a screenwriter from Austria. So, if you would notice, 21st century author does not only limit their writing literature, but they also are connected with the film industry. They're also connected with other forms of literature. 2014, Patrick Modiano. He is a popular novelist coming from France. Then we also have a 2014 Nobel Prize awardee, Herta Müller, in 2014. He's actually from Rome. Um, However, she is now currently at Germany. She is a novelist, a poet, and at the same time an atheist. Okay, so I'd like to give a generalization as to what is European literature. Basing from those activities, we have traveled from classical literature to the different periods of European roots. So it is actually very influential. It is also rich. Most of our philosophers, scientists, early literary texts are inspired and influenced by Europe. They are then they are also widely read um, because of their language and their presence in all over the world. It's very diverse in themes as well as in styles. Then it is in most centuries, realism is the theme or is a big theme, which is really prominent. Of course, in the last 2 decades of European literature, these literary texts of Europe ranges several types of people at different ages of different walks of life, especially in the 21st or 20th century, that they wanted to explore question the existence of human being and what is really our purpose in living our lives. So that is the different representative texts, authors, and literary periods of European literature, from the classical period to medieval to Renaissance to the 20th century. Okay, so let's check our knowledge on the discussion of the literary periods of the European literature. To begin with, we are going to start with number one again. This is the 20th century European literature. What's this? Description. The 20th European literature is described as. How do we generally describe the literature of the 20th century of the region? Is it A? Is it a period of dark ages? Is 20th literature, European literature, a period of reason and passion? Is it the age of romanticism, symbolism, and realism? Okay, or is it the age of a classical Latin literature, mythology, epics, and fairy tales? We have answers from Sheena Marie Rubia. She answered letter B, and Miss Melvin Jaime Jasmine answered letter C. Let's reveal the answer. Who is right? Okay, it's actually the age of romanticism, symbolism, and realism. It's the answer is not here. That is my bad, because the answer is, if we go back, it's the age of deep questioning. Okay. My apologies to Sheena Marie and Riz Milben Jasmine for tricking you in question number one. Okay, so let's have question number two. He is a 20th century novelist who wrote The Unbearable Lightness of Being. This time I promise you that this is not a bogus question. So once again, in the 20th century, he wrote The Unbearable Lightness of Being. This is a novel, the one that I've mentioned earlier, whose characters are revolving around two women, two men, and a dog. Okay, good afternoon po, ma'am. Watching from New Canaan Integrated School, Alabel, District 1, Division of Sarangani. Good afternoon, Cindy Rose. Okay, no one answered, but it's all right. It's actually Milan Kundera. I invite everyone or encourage our grade 11 students to read Milan Kundera, Paulo Coelho, Peter Hank, and Patrick Mondiano. Okay, so that's all about it. The characteristics of a 20th century European literature. Now let us see how these literary characteristics manifest in a literary text coming from Europe. Thus, we will be viewing and at the same time reading a literary text or a representative text. So the title of our text would be Coraline. It's written by Neil Gaiman. So he is a fictionist, a short story writer, a graphic novelist, and he's also has participation and involvement in theater and films. Um, for our learners, he's still alive, and you can actually watch videos about his works, videos and interviews, podcasts with Neil Gaiman. You can watch him on YouTube. At the same time, you can also watch the movie Coraline. Okay, so this is actually the original book cover of the novel. He mentioned in one of his podcasts that this novel was actually a 10-year long creation, or he wrote this one for 10 years. Moreover, 10 years is not solely for writing the book alone, but of course, there are certain parts of that 10 years that is not devoted for writing Coraline. And this is actually dedicated for his lovely daughter. Okay, so I hope you guys are excited. We will be watching Coraline. So let me share to you the trailer of the novel that's turned into film, Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Here you go.
Coraline Jones always dreamed of finding a better world. A world more exciting than this. But never did she imagine that she'd discover it in her own home.
We've been waiting for you, Coraline.
Her parents are always sorry,
I love your bonnet! Can't believe we did this!
and everything is so good. It just can't be real.
Mom? You're just in time for supper, dear.
You're not my mother. My mother doesn't have...
Buttons? Do you like them? I'm your other mother, silly.
You probably think this world is a dream come true. But you're wrong.
You do like it here, don't you, Coraline? You could stay here forever. There's one tiny little thing you need to do. Black is tradition.
She's got this free world where everything's better, but it's all betrayal.
You may come out and you've learned to be a loving daughter.
From Henry Selick, the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, comes a world of extraordinary imagination. Spooky secrets.
We're in terrible danger, girl. I still have to find my parents. Is something free?
This year, when adventure comes knocking, there are some doors that should never be opened. Coraline, written for the screen and directed by Henry Selick, presented in Real D 3D.
Okay, learners, parents, and teachers, Coraline by Neil Gaiman was actually published in 2012, and it was aired on television in 2019. So we are going to read parts of Coraline so that we can have more idea as to what is the story all about. At the same time, it will encourage you to read the entire book. We will be only reading an excerpt of the novel. So once again, I wish I could read aloud with you this excerpt of the novel, but let me go through it. It sounded like her mother. Caroline went into the kitchen where the voice had come from. A woman stood in the kitchen with her back to Caroline. She looked a little like Caroline's mother only her skin was white as pepper. Only she was taller and thinner. Only her fingers were too long, and they never stopped moving. And her dark red fingernails were curved and sharp. Caroline, that woman said, is that you? And then she turned around. Her eyes were big black buttons. Lunchtime, Caroline, said the woman. Who are you? Asked Caroline. I'm your mother, said the woman. Go and tell your other father lunch is ready. So she opened the door of the oven, and suddenly Caroline realized how hungry she was. It smelled wonderful. Well, go on. Okay, so dear learners, I'd like you to take note of these information coming from these paragraphs of the text. So the description of her mother, it sounded like her mother, meaning to say it is really not her mother. Then the setting is on the kitchen where she wanted to see who is in the kitchen. There you go. Her mother was defined or described as white, very, very white. She is also tall and thin compared to Caroline's mother. Take note as well on the description of the fingernails. And these fingernails are curved at the same time, red and sharp. Actually, Caroline had an apprehension as to who is this woman. So Caroline bravely asked this woman about who she is. And the mother, or this mother, simply or plainly answered Caroline that she is her mother. Okay? She is her other mother. Okay? And the woman continued by saying, or by telling, by requesting Caroline to say, go tell your other father that it's already lunchtime. All right. So it is clear by now that Caroline is having an encounter with her other mother and her other father. Okay. And as you can see, her other mother is oddly described. Okay. So let's go to the next paragraph. Caroline went down the hall to where her father's study was. She opened the door. There was a man in there, sitting at the keyboard with his back to her. Hello, said Caroline. I mean, she said to say that lunch is ready. The man turned around. His eyes were buttons, big and black and shiny. Hello, Caroline, he said. I'm starving. He got up and went with her into the kitchen. Okay, so see how does his other father looks like. His other father looks like just like her other mother. That's gonna be a button, no buttons under eyes, perhaps big and shiny and black. Okay. more or less his father may also have the same skin tone and color with the other mother. Okay, so dear listeners or viewers, if you were Coraline at your age, how would you feel? Okay, I'd like to ask our viewers, how would you feel about seeing if you were Coraline and you happened to see, went to the kitchen, and your mom suddenly become like her and your father suddenly become like him and claim that he is your other mother and other father. Okay, simply comment your response to our chat box. How will you feel if you were Coraline? Will you be like Coraline who bravely face and talk with them? Let me know. All right, let us continue reading. So they sat at the kitchen table, and Caroline's other mother brought them lunch. A huge golden brown roasted chicken, fried potatoes, tiny green peas. Caroline shoveled the food into her mouth. It tasted wonderful. Then the mother said, "We've been waiting for you for a long time," said Caroline's other father. "For me?" "Yes," said the other mother. "It wasn't the same here without you. But you know, you'd arrive one day and then we could be a proper family. Would you like some more chicken?" Okay, so that's them from the movie eating together with Caroline is with her other mom and eating with her other father, eating delicious roast chicken, potatoes, and tiny green peas. Okay, I'm starving now. To continue, it was the best chicken that Caroline had ever eaten. Her mother sometimes made chicken, but it wasn't always out of pockets or frozen, and was very dry, and it never tasted of anything. When Caroline's father cooked chicken, he bought real chicken, but he did strange things to it, like stewing it in a wine or stuffing it with prunes or baking it in a pastry. And Caroline would always refuse to touch it on principle. So she took some more chicken, and I didn't know I had another mother, said Caroline cautiously. Now, in this part of the excerpt, you would see how Caroline described her real father and real mother serving her with food, particularly the chicken that's probably her favorite. So her real mother would serve her frozen chicken or would serve her chicken, frozen chicken, and cook it for her, but it doesn't taste fresh because again, it's not fresh. That would really taste dry already. So if we could also say that perhaps these are processed chicken or processed food. Then here comes Caroline's father. She explained that the chicken that her father served her is something that is not palatable for Caroline. She doesn't like this chicken in the wine. She doesn't like stuffed chicken, and she doesn't like other cooking of chicken. However, the best chicken for her is the one cooked by her other mother and other mother. And if you would notice, they dined with her. The other mother and other father dined with Caroline. And so, when she was offered to eat more, it's not surprisingly that Caroline said that she would. Okay? So, last one. "Of course you do. Everyone does," said the other mother, her black bottom eyes gleaming. "After lunch, I thought you might like to play in your room with rats." "The rats?" "From upstairs." Caroline had never seen a rat, except on television. She was quite looking forward to it. This was turning out to be a very interesting day after all. Dear viewers, that is an excerpt of the novel Caroline by Neil Gaiman. Okay, so please be with me as we are going to unlock the meaning of the story or the message of this excerpt through this question. Okay, earlier I was asking about how would you react if you would see if you would see somebody in your kitchen, in your study room who has buttons in their eyes or who looks very strange. Okay, would you be responding like Coraline did, or other way around? So once again, that question is still open. You can drop your answer in our chat box. Then, before we go to question number one, I'd like to greet Ritz Melvin Jas Hasmik. He's watching from Bye Bye City Senior High School. Good afternoon, Ritz. Okay, I'd like to invite everyone to give your response, a reaction to the story that we've read. So here, we'll try to answer, how would you describe the other mother? Why do you feel that way? It is vividly and explicitly described in the text. It says, the other mother looks like this. Her skin is white as paper, taller, thinner than her real mom, with strange fingers, long fingernails, dark hair. Okay, so for question number two, why does the other mother have significant differences in the appearance from her real mother? What could this mean? Okay, do you think she or and his other father a realistic character in their real life? Okay, so perhaps you already know the idea about it. Of course, it is not a realistic character from the real world. How do you feel about the buttons in the eyes? What could this signify in the story? What do you think? Okay, once again, dear viewers, feel free to chat your answers. From the story Coraline of Neil Gaiman, what do you think is the symbolism of the button in his eyes? Does it symbolize inability to see? Does it symbolize inability to see the reality? Does it symbolizes again a fictional character or a fictional person in Caroline's life? Okay, number four. Once again, I'm inviting our viewers to also share your idea, to share what you understood and what is your perception about the story. Have you ever fantasized about having another mother or father? Why? Okay, dear viewers, do you even fantasize? Do you ever fantasize of having another mother or father? Why? How does the story feed on his fantasy? How is the chicken in the other family different from how chicken is usually served in her household? Okay, for question number five, all of us are familiar with frozen goods or instant goods. This apart from it is cheap, it is also easy to prepare. And Filipinos, likewise in the progressive countries around the world, parents, mother and father are always busy. Father and mother are sometimes rarely seen in the house, right? Because they have to earn a living. That is something that is Caroline is fantasizing about the presence of her imaginary mother, imaginary father, and at the same time, the food that she craves on eating to be eating with her parents, her mom and dad. What does the chicken symbolize? Okay. This is just a personal opinion. Perhaps the chicken would symbolizes on the different things that Caroline wanted or aspire or wish for from his parents. Perhaps it's not about material, but it could mean that way. Perhaps it could also mean something abstract like love, time, care. If you notice in the trailer, his real father is on working on his computer with eyeballs, and is really soaking to his what he's doing, even if his father is just at home or at home. Then there's also part of the trailer wherein they are serving Caroline with an instant food, something that is ready to prepare, and his parents never even sit in the table with Caroline. So, dear viewers, you can also have your own symbolism on the chicken of Caroline. 7. The other mother encourages Caroline to play with rats. What does this tell about the other mother's character? Okay, again, the other mother encourages Caroline to play with rats. What does this tell us about the other mother's character? So, who could this be? Who could this other mother's character is? Is she a symbolism of? Is she a representation of a realistic animal, a rodent, something else in the house, or a pet perhaps, or something that could represent a mother in the house? Or is it something about where is this other mother and other father is coming from? Lastly, why does Caroline respond the way she does? Okay, let me emphasize, dear learners and viewers, the way Caroline was responded is that she bravely accepts or she bravely interacts with them. She's not even scared at all. Although she has a little bit of a confusion, and by that, she asks straightforward question about who they are. At the same time, she is not scared with them. That's why perhaps we could really say that the other mother and other father is somebody within the house that is very familiar with him, although she given it a different persona, being the other mother and the other father. All right. So I hope you would be more interested to read on Caroline. This can be purchased. The book can be purchased at the same time the movie can be watched. So for this one, if you are still interested, dear viewers, you can also send us your chat. What do you think? Or what do you think what happens to the story? What is the next thing that would happen to Coraline? Would she go upstairs and play with the rats? Would she rather request more delicious food coming from her other mother? Or would she rather request her other mother to play with other father to play with her? Okay. So lastly would be, what do you think will happen with Caroline's relationship with the other mother? So if you were Caroline, would you continue going with and eating with and having quality time with your other mother, considering his and her or her appearance, or would you rather not? Okay, I hope I could see and hear your comments. so that I can read them, because that is already the last part of our presentation this afternoon. That is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Learners and viewers, I'd like to encourage you to read philosophical books. One of it is Coraline. The same thing. This novel discusses on the usual problem, family problem actually, that our community is currently facing. All of us, we're so busy with everything that we do. Learners, your time is devoted with your answering your modules, or having an online class. You spend 8 hours a day or more than that for your school activities. Likewise, your parents are almost out of the house, because they have to earn a living. Okay, there may be times that we need their affection. There are times that we need our parents to share the table with us. There are also times that we wanted something from our parents, not just a material thing. Um, Not all parents can have the opportunity to give you that time and that much presence in the house. I would like to request from our learners that let us also understand our parents. We can have imaginary friends or an outlet of our craving for our parents' time. Moreover, let those outlets be something that is also productive. With that being said, I'd like to encourage our learners not to um, not to be in the unrealistic world of online gaming, not to be in the unrealistic world of social media. Okay. I also would like to request from our learners that to open up whatever your desire to your real parents. Your real parents is actually are caring for you, and if they could, they wanted to spend much time with you. Okay, so to our parents as well, like myself, as a parent myself, I would also like to make this an opportunity to call our parents in giving time, at the same time, quality time, not just time, but quality time when we are at home. We hope that we can drop our work at home. Moreover, our children would really appreciate if we can have dinner with them, at least one meal a day, and of course, check on them as to how their day go by. Likewise, share your day as well to your children. And that would be all for my discussion this afternoon on European literature with Neil Gaiman and Caroline as our literary text coming from European literature. Good afternoon once again, viewers. Good afternoon. And thank you so much for staying with me in this session. This is your tutor, Tiny. Thank you for our Tuesdays together. I'll see you again next week. And goodbye, everyone. Thank you once again.
Sigurado ako na marami ka na namang natutuhan sa ating ETUlay tutorial session ngayong araw. Tandaan, ito ay hindi lamang para sa ating mga mag-aaral, kundi pati rin sa ating mga minamahal na guro at mga magulang na kaagapay natin para maituloy ang pagkatuto sa kabila ng nararanasang pandemya. Patuloy ding sumubaybay sa DepEd TV para sa mga araling ginawang video episodes. Mapapanood ito mula Lunes hanggang Sabado, alas 7 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi sa inyong mga telebisyon. Abangan bukas mula 1:00 ng tanghali ang iba pang aralin sa ating ETUlay free online tutorial session sa Filipino. I-like and subscribe at manatiling nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay tutorial session sa DepEd Edtech Unit FB page at Educational Technology Unit channel sa YouTube at sa DepEd Tayo at DepEd Philippines social media accounts. Paalam!